What if I told you that a football club's supporters once formed their own political party just to get their stadium back, and it actually worked? That is Charlton Athletic, a club that has survived bankruptcy, 7 years of forced exile, and an ownership that nearly destroyed everything this fan base had spent decades building. Through every dark chapter, one dream never died, transforming the Valley into a 40,000-seat stadium worthy of this club's history. That dream was even council approved and fully funded once before. But one season of bad football results killed it overnight before a single brick was laid. Now, for the first time in nearly 20 years, that dream is genuinely back. The team is in the championship, the ownership is stable, and the plan to transform the Valley from a 27,111-seat stadium frozen in time is seriously moving forward. But the road ahead is far more complicated than it looks. The man who nearly destroyed this club still legally owns the stadium. The planning battles are real, and history has already proved exactly how quickly everything can collapse at the Valley when things go wrong. Can Charlton finally deliver the stadium their supporters deserve? Let's find out. The Valley has been Charlton's home since 1919, built on an abandoned chalk pit in southeast London, with supporters literally volunteering to clear and construct it by hand. At its peak, it packed in over 75,000 fans, making it one of the largest grounds in the country. But a government crackdown on stadium safety slashed the capacity from 66,000 down to just 20,000 overnight, after subsidence issues made the East Terrace structurally unsafe. The club was already financially struggling, and there was simply no money to fix it. Then came the Bradford City fire tragedy in 1985, which triggered a nationwide crackdown on stadium safety across England. The Valley failed its inspection entirely. Charlton were forced out and sent to ground share at Crystal Palace's Selhurst Park. With nobody left to maintain it, the Valley decayed rapidly, an overgrown pitch, rusting turnstiles, and a ground that had once held 75,000 people reduced to a complete wasteland in the middle of southeast London. When the club tried to return and renovate in 1988, Greenwich Borough Council rejected the planning application. So, supporters did something that had never been done before in English football. They formed their own political party. The Valley Party stood in the 1990 local council elections on a single issue and received nearly 15,000 votes across the borough. The pressure was impossible to ignore. The council reversed their decision, and on December 5, 1992, Charlton came home. 7 years in exile, ended entirely by the fans themselves. Through the 1990s, the ground was steadily rebuilt, and then came the Premier League years. Between 2000 and 2007, Charlton competed in the top flight for 7 consecutive seasons. And during that golden period, the club submitted formal planning applications to expand the Valley to over 40,000 seats. The plan was to completely rebuild the Jimmy Seed stand and add a second tier to the East stand. Greenwich Council approved it. This was not a concept or a pipe dream. It was a real council-approved expansion plan with genuine funding behind it. But relegation in 2007 ended everything before a single brick was laid. Premier League money disappeared overnight, and those 40,000-seat plans were quietly shelved and never revisited, until now. What followed was nearly 15 years of instability. Then, in January 2014, Belgian businessman Roland Duchâtelet purchased the club for around £14 million. He ran Charlton as part of a network of 5 clubs he owned simultaneously across Europe, in Germany, Spain, Hungary, Belgium, and England, rotating players between them like a production line, with very little regard for what Charlton actually needed. Attendances dropped by over 5,500 during his ownership. The team was relegated to League One in 2016, and not a single meaningful pound was invested in the Valley throughout his entire 6 years in charge. The supporter response was unlike anything seen at an English football club in years. The coalition against Roland Duchâtelet, CARD, organized sustained protests inside and outside the ground. Over 200 fans traveled to Belgium to demonstrate outside his hometown. The campaign raised over £50,000, lobbied the EFL directly, and even met with officials at the Belgian embassy in London. It was relentless, and it worked. By 2019, Du Châtelet was gone. But when he left, he kept ownership of the Valley. The owners who followed paid just £1 for the club, promised millions, delivered nothing, and left Charlton on the brink of losing their EFL status entirely. That all changed in July 2023, when SE7 Partners secured a lease on the Valley all the way through to 2040. For the first time in decades, Charlton finally owned their future. The 40,000-seat plan that was council approved and abandoned after relegation is now firmly back on the table. And with promotion to the championship confirmed in May 2025, the urgency behind it has never felt more real. So what is actually being planned for the Valley? And what could this stadium genuinely look like in the years ahead? For the first time in a generation, the conversation at Charlton Athletic has completely shifted from survival to ambition. And what is being planned for the Valley is genuinely one of the most exciting stadium stories in English football right now. The vision is to expand the Valley from within, inside the same chalk pit that has defined this club since 1919, and take the capacity from 27,111 all the way to 40,000 seats. That would make it one of the largest stadiums in the championship and restore it to a scale this ground has not seen in decades. But this is not simply about adding seats. It is about rebuilding this stadium stand by stand and completely transforming what the Valley looks, feels, and functions like. Before the big expansion picture, let us quickly cover what has already changed. Over the past 2 summers, the ownership has invested more into the Valley than any previous regime in over 20 years. A new hybrid pitch to Premier League standard, state-of-the-art LED floodlights, one of the largest digital screen platforms ever installed inside a British football stadium, and a brand new fan zone outside the West Stand with a 3-on-3 football pitch. Every single one of these investments is a statement of intent, and they are just the beginning. The centerpiece of everything is the Jimmy Seed Stand, the oldest structure at the Valley, single-tiered, holding just 3,469 seats, and still featuring a supporting roof pillar that physically blocks sightlines for fans sitting behind it. It looks out of place, and it has held this stadium back for years. The proposal is a complete demolition and full rebuild, a brand new modern 2-tier stand that removes that pillar entirely, opens up clean sightlines from every seat, and adds thousands of new supporters into the south end. This one, rebuild alone, would be the single biggest transformation the Valley has ever seen. Then there are the 2 open corners. Those gaps let noise escape, bleed energy out of the stadium, and prevent the atmosphere from ever reaching its full potential. Closing both corners would connect all 4 stands into one continuous enclosed structure for the very first time, creating a cauldron that visiting teams would genuinely dread. And beyond atmosphere, those corner sections would house additional seating, premium hospitality areas, and commercial spaces, generating revenue every single week. The third major change is the East Stand. When this stand was originally built, the foundations were deliberately laid to support a full second tier on top, making this one of the most structurally straightforward upgrades available. That second tier would deliver thousands more seats, a redesigned roofline, modern media facilities, new executive boxes, and premium club-level seating that simply does not exist at the Valley right now. Because this expansion is about far more than capacity. Right now, the Valley generates a fraction of the commercial revenue that comparable championship clubs earn. A rebuilt Jimmy Seed Stand, closed corners, and a second tier on the East Stand would create substantial new space for hospitality lounges, restaurant and bar facilities, corporate boxes, and conference spaces, making the Valley a revenue-generating venue every day of the week, not just on match days. The club has already brought in Trivandi, one of the world's leading stadium consultancy firms, to develop the full long-term strategy for this transformation. But building all of this costs serious money. So what is the financial reality? And what genuinely happens to Charlton if this expansion does not happen? Here's where the story gets genuinely interesting and a little uncomfortable. SE7 Partners are funding this entire expansion through entirely private investment, with no public money and no taxpayer subsidy involved whatsoever. We're talking an estimated 80 to 120 million pounds, spread intelligently across phases as revenues grow with the football. And that phased approach is actually one of the most financially sensible expansion models you'll find anywhere in English football right now. No official construction date has been confirmed, and the club haven't made any formal public announcement yet. But the timeline, when you piece it together, is actually pretty clear. The Jimmy Seed Stand rebuild comes first, with somewhere between 2026 and 2028 being a realistic window for that work to begin. The full 40,000-seat vision is tied directly to a Premier League return in the club's own thinking, which puts full completion somewhere in the early to mid-2030s. For the first time in 20 years, the direction of travel feels genuinely certain. Right now, Charlton generate £8.8 million a year. A fully redeveloped 40,000-seat Valley with hospitality, corporate boxes, naming rights, the lot, could push that toward £20 million at championship level alone. And the moment Premier League football walks back through the door, where broadcast distributions start at over £100 million per season, the expansion stops being a question of whether it happens and becomes purely a question of how fast. But before any of that can happen, there is a problem hanging over this entire project that nobody talks about enough. Roland Duchâtelet still owns the Valley. He kept the freehold when he sold the club. And that situation is genuinely extraordinary when you think about what Charlton are now trying to build. A £50 million buyout agreement with a previous ownership group was simply never paid. Thomas Sandgaard walked away from purchasing the ground outright during his time in charge. SE7 partners have extended the lease through to 2040, which eases the immediate pressure. But the uncomfortable truth remains. You cannot fully commit £100 million to redeveloping a stadium that someone else legally owns. Buying the Valley back from Duchâtelet is the single most important off-pitch decision this club faces. And this is where Charlton's story becomes truly unique in English football. In 2013, the Charlton Athletic Supporters Trust gathered exactly 1,905 signatures, the year the club was founded, to secure Asset of Community Value status for the Valley. This means if the stadium is ever put up for sale, supporters must be notified and given the chance to make a competing bid before it can go to anyone else. Fans creating a legal safeguard to protect their own stadium, using their club's founding year as the signature count. That detail tells you everything about the relationship between Charlton Athletic and the Valley. Here's what makes right now different from every attempt before it. When the last expansion collapsed after relegation in 2007, there was no lease security, ownership turned toxic, and one bad season ended everything overnight. Today, every single one of those obstacles is gone. The lease runs to 2040, ownership is stable, championship revenues are finally flowing, and a fan base that lost just 2 home league games all season is creating exactly the kind of demand that makes a bigger Valley not just desirable, but absolutely necessary. So, do you think Charlton can finally pull this off? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button for more football stadium stories just like this one.